I come from a country where over 60% of the population is made up of young people. I'm talking energetic, creative, and full of potential. Now, yet, we often find ourselves watching from the sidelines as decisions that shape our future are made without us. It's a paradox, I must say, because we are the majority, but then we do not have the main voice. So this conversation isn't just about inclusion, it's about intention. But then, how many Nigerian youths are ready to move from the background to the forefront, to the front lines? How many of them are ready to make impact with purpose and not chase personal ambitions, to be focused and not to be distracted by the social media buzz, the frenzy, and the pressure? Are Nigerian youths ready to be bold, develop novel ideas, and challenge the norm, or they would rather prefer to remain social media keypad warriors? Well, this is For Founder Africa. I am Lekon Onobanjo. You're welcome. Now, the youth make up the majority of Nigeria's population, but are often sidelined or even choose to remain sidelined in national development discourse. Now, with Nigeria at the crossroads, the role of young people is shaping its future, and it has become something quite crucial to even talk about now. Leadership, innovation, and a sense of purpose are needed to drive meaningful change. So, on the show today, we will attempt to spotlight how Nigerian youths can lead in life with purpose and impact, even as we look at building purpose-driven youth, leadership, creativity, and nation building in Nigeria of what people will say a Nigeria of our dreams. So this afternoon, we're joined by Mba Emem, who is a graduate, and of course, Mba joins me from Lagos. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And yes, we have Prince Ezeabata-Chibuzor, who is the Executive Director, PurposeForte. He also joins me to talk about this. Thank you so much for coming around. Prince Ezeabata, can you hear me? Okay, so we are going to start the conversation with Mba. Now, let's start by defining a purpose-driven youth. What does that mean in the Nigerian context?
Okay, so being a purpose youth is basically waking up every day and having intentions, having a purpose, knowing what you want to do every day when you wake up, deciding to impact lives. Looking for ways to improve people's lives, helping the less privileged. It is basically just living with intentions to me, and not just waking up and just going about our day. It's waking up with a purpose, with an intention. So that is what I define. I define purpose-driven youth as.
Okay, let me just pose that to Prince Ezeabata and also get his pulse on this. How would you describe a youth that is set to be purpose-driven?
Okay, thank you. So to really understand the concept of a purpose-driven youth in the contemporary Nigerian society, we must first of all understand that we live in a modern society with peculiar challenges and peculiar realities. And as such, we need young persons that have an ambition that is beyond themselves, an ambition, a call, an assignment that is beyond themselves. Therefore, having understood this, a purpose-driven youth is a young person, a young Nigeria, that is working particularly on his assignments that is beyond self and beyond personal achievement and aggrandizement. Basically, his ambition, his progress, his desires, his goals is geared towards building a sustainable system and structure that don't just reward him alone, but rewards his larger society. That, for me, is a purpose-driven youth in the contemporary Nigerian society.
All right, Mba, let's do a track back a bit and look at what used to be, what used to, happen in time past compared to what we have now. Because Prince Ezeabata talked about the modern era and how it is right now. Mba, for you, what examples of maybe purpose-driven Nigerian youth era would you say inspires you up till now, and why?
I think it is the NSAS protests for me because I was there. I mean, I wasn't there the day they did the shooting, but I was there to protest against the SARS who harass people, mostly the youth. I remember somebody giving a story that SARS entered his house and started harassing for no reason, just because he's doing well and is living a comfortable life. And it is so unfair. It is so unfair to the youths. It is so unfair because they are using the power carelessly. They are oppressing us. So I was happy to be there because I'm a youth. And I wanted my voice to be heard. I wanted the people in the government to know how they are mistreating us that are powerless. So that NFAS is one protest that actually inspired me to speak up.
Okay. Now, Prince, Mba just talked about government oppression, so to speak. So let's look at that. In Nigeria, by design, would you say that the country is built to groom and produce Nigerians who have a sense of purpose for their lives and the country?
Yes, it can. And I always say this, and I often remark this statement. I say that you live in a third world country, you're a nation, and if you live in a third world nation, there are peculiar challenges, which I term third world demons, that attack young persons in third world nations, which Nigeria is inclusive. And at that, you must understand that your contemporary rivalries is not just the guy in Lagos, or the guy in Abuja, or the guy in Kano, but the tech guy in Japan, the US citizen over there in New York that has access to the internet and fast service. That's also a consumer society. Therefore, in the Nigerian society, in the Nigerian context, a young man must first of all understand that he lives in a society with peculiar challenges. And he must think, how do you as a young Nigerians transcend these limitations? And one is that you must have an ideal sense of excellence. You must be excellent beyond everything, beyond everything we do around government and policy. You must be individually excellent, because your contemporary is not just about the guy in Lagos or Abuja, but the outstanding guy in US, the guy in Johannesburg, South Africa, the guy in Kenya, the guy in China. These are the contemporary rivalry because, of course, the world is a global economy currently, it's a global village. So you must understand this, young Nigerians, for you to be able to match yourself with the global realities of influence and identity and ambition and purpose.
All right, so Mba, I'm going to bring you into this now. We understand we are, as a country in a continent, we are competing with youths or peers from other countries and other continents. But then some people say that Nigerian youths are easily distracted. I don't know if you agree with that particular postulation. If you do, is it a social conditioning or a lack of self and social awareness?
To be honest, I think it's a mix of social conditioning and survival. There are a lot of, actually, social media is like the main distractions. We have a lot of jobless people. There is unemployment, insecurities, wears you out. And the only place you can escape reality is on social media, where there are trends, and you can just scroll through social media, and before you know it, time has passed. So I think I won't say that they are easily distracted. I just feel like that's where they escape from reality. So that's it for me.
Prince, do you agree with that postulation or with that stance as regards the social media buzz and the fact that we don't see youths who are really focused on trying to build a country and grow it, but instead they are more focused on the trends and the buzz and the stories that fly on social media?
Yes, my co-guest with an amazing expository in that aspect. But I'd love to add something to what she said. I'd love to add that beyond the social media, beyond the Twitter trends and everything, the question is, are you really building yourself as a youth for tomorrow? You know, oftentimes we tend to mix social media bans and rants with speaking up for your rights, you know. So we shouldn't marry them. We should divorce these two instances. They are two different things. So let's not marry banting and ranting on social media to really doing the work. And what is doing the work? Doing the work is this. Beyond the social media talks, beyond the Twitter and everything, are you, as young, are you building yourself? Are you getting ready for tomorrow? Are you, learning the necessary skills that are important for taking over from today's leaders? Are you building systems? Are you building structures that will give you an edge when it comes to real power tomorrow? We have the likes of Tunde. He's currently doing a lot of things with shares and slum. So you see what he does there. Beyond the rant on social media, he's actively building something. He's building a structure around himself, a system around himself that don't just makes him a social media influencer particularly, but he's also doing something actively to contribute to society. That for me is what a contemporary youth in the modern world, in this age of technology, can do to distinguish himself from other peers.
But you don't think that is just one out of a few compared with other countries where we've seen youths actively coming up with innovative ideas in different fields, in different areas for growth for their country? I mean, some people will say that we are in a climb whereby algorithms actually dictate some sort of social conditioning of what the youth would consume on a daily, and that in a way impoverishes them intellectually and equally poisons their mind to not, think out of the box. So, Prince, I'd like to get your thoughts on that, because we need to put these in proper perspective to have an understanding of how we need to move forward from this.
Okay, all right. For me personally, I'm of the belief system that, you see, our world is full of, our contemporary world is full of diverse distractions. So we must separate distractions from the actual meat of things. So we shouldn't marry these two things together. So there are things that are distractions and there are things that are real things. So yes, there's a role of social media. There's a responsibility that it plays. There's a role it plays. Social media plays a role. Personal branding is a thing. Collaboration is a thing. Communication is a thing. Identity is a thing, all right? So these things are there. They're important. But we must really ask ourselves the pertinent question, which is beyond the social media boost, beyond the social media engagement. Are you really building yourself? Are you actively doing the main job? Because whether I like it or not, what really announces a young person is not about social media posts, which is important, yes, but it's about what they are really doing, what they are actively building, even behind the scene. And I made an example of, we have many young Nigerians currently. The CEO of Money Points, one of them. We have Tunde, who's doing a lot of shit in slum. There's amazing young Nigerians over here who are doing amazing things. And so you see that beyond the social media apparatus, they are actively building systems and structures. They are contributing to society. That for me is my opinion in regarding to that social media conditioning. And yes, social media can be used as a tool, all right, to condition the youth negatively. And sometimes I believe that some trends on social media are intentionally manufactured to condition the dismantle fragments of young persons. So we must be able to understand that some things we see are not true. And that's why I always tell young people that if you're going to the modern world, you must be able to understand media literacy. You must be able to understand media literacy to sieve out what is true from what is the truth. Because some things we see online are not the truth. They are true, yes, but some true are meant to condition you. Some true are meant to control you. Some true are meant to hypnotize you. But then you must understand what is the truth from what is true. So if you understand what is the truth, it gives you a more objective conclusion, a more objective decision to make. And then, of course, precision, what next you do. So what is the hallmark of what I'm saying now? Is this? It's simple. So beyond the social media engagement and everything, are you really putting effort? Are you building yourself physically, emotionally, psychologically? Are you really getting ready to take over? Or does it just end on social media platforms? And if it ends there, then I think there's more for young persons to do. Because, of course, the real world is outside social media. That's it for me.
Okay, so Mba, I mean, some people say that, the social media crusades in some way have actually helped to confront narratives by propagandists and some of the things that Prince has actually talked about, the truth, misinformation and all. But then if we're going to be factual about the instrumentation of the social media, can it be heavily leveraged to actually kickstart a movement for a change, a nationalistic change that can be driven by the Nigerian youth?
Yes, absolutely. The EndSARS started online. Most people protested online. So it helped to mobilize the youth. It helped to mobilize the whole protest in Nigerian history. That's probably one of the biggest protests in Nigeria today. It is powerful for education. It is powerful for even organizing and storytelling. But the challenge is moving from virality to visibility. That's just it. Are we seen? Are we heard? Do you understand? It's not just about talking online, but are we heard? Are the government doing something about it? But definitely, social media is a powerful tool.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Prince, earlier on you did a comparison looking at Nigerian youths in context with other contemporaries of theirs in other countries. But then let's even narrow it down to the continent. Let's look at Africa. I mean, Nigerian youths, according to what we've heard, they've been described as people who complain a lot. And they've been described as just keypad warriors. And in comparison to other African countries, we've seen youths who have championed a real change. Would you say that Nigerian youths are all back and bite? Because it's not enough to speak and the government would hear. When they hear, do you stay on that cause and wait until you actually see something happen based on that crusade? I'd like to get your thoughts on that, because they say Nigeria is the giant of Africa. But then when you look at the youths, are they that type of people that are resilient compared to youth in other African countries?
Okay. Yes. There are many stories. There are many stories that dominate the internet. Of course, many tales that dominate the internet. But more often than none, we don't see tales about young Nigerians persevering through economic hardships, through limitations, social, cultural, religious limitations, and still pushing forward, running businesses, founding organizations, establishing initiatives, even pulling through surmountable challenges. All right. So we don't see this narrative dominating the internet, only a few of them. So what dominates the internet space more often is more of rants and bans and complaints. Yes. But there are stories which need to be shared. And this is why we need to invest in these stories. A couple of years back, when I was a student of in Abuja, I hosted an event on campus, which I tagged at the Youth Ready for Tomorrow. In that event, I raised a strong proposition I argued that we need to invest in stories that uplift, stories that tells the positivity of young Nigerians, their efforts, their struggles, how they persevere through challenges, policy of governance, the cultural limitations, societal limitations, tribal limitations, and still found businesses, organizations. Even all the challenges around, we still see Nigerian youth doing amazingly well beyond the shores of Nigeria and Africa. So yes, some may say we are complaining, but I still believe strongly that Nigerian youth are one of the best youths you can find anywhere in the diaspora. All right. A couple of years back, we've seen practically how young Nigerians particularly have taken over positions in UK, in the US. About 2 days ago, a Nigerian woman won a mayor in the UK. A few days ago, Nigerian woman, a youth. So yes, we are doing amazing things. Yes, we may not document these stories, we may not showcase these stories, but they are there. And the fact still remains the fact. For me personally, I think Nigerians are largely through the potentials, but maybe not due to some limitations, they may, channel it negatively or in a way that have little rewards. But then, notwithstanding all these challenges, I believe Nigerian youths are one of the most amazing and intelligent young persons you could find anywhere in the world. Okay. That's for me, it's personal. That's my personal opinion on that.
Okay, so Mba, I mean, we can talk about the failure of the government. We can talk about our cultural challenges. We can talk about limitations. And we can talk about so many things. But then, even looking at the few young minds in Nigeria that have been described as, shining lights, that have equally had the privilege to hold top positions in time past in Nigeria, have equally messed up. And we just heard Prince talk about, some Nigerians, who have held positions in other climes in other countries. They're doing quite well. Their career growth path, fantastic. They're really serious about what they're hoping to achieve in other countries. But have we really seen that happen in Nigeria with the youths that have had that privilege to be in privileged positions in a couple of years back?
Are you talking about in politics, or you're talking about in their daily lives?
Politics, different spheres, different areas.
Well, politically, I don't think I have seen any young person partake in politics. But for just normal life, for like Hilda Bassi is a good example of a youth that has purpose, that has intentions. Building in Nigeria, when I mean building, is creating opportunities for other people. That's something. I know I have seen a couple of Nigerians in tech. I mean, we have Richmond Bassi in Bamboo,
okay,
who created Bamboo, therefore creating opportunities for other young Nigerians to work, creating employment for them. Does that answer your question, or
yes, you're actually in line. I'm just trying to, challenge a thought, or challenge a school of thought, so to speak, about, Nigerians that have had the opportunity to be at the places of position, the places of influence, and if they've been able to channel that energy into doing something positive, not only for themselves, but for the country. But then we've seen, in certain areas or certain circumstances where those, most especially in politics, those who have had the opportunity to be in the places of power have not really lived up, to expectations and have fallen by the wayside. Let me just quickly get a thought of Prince on that. Why is it that when you see Nigerians, youths, take up positions in tech, in the medical field, in politics and other areas, they do quite well. But then in their home country, you see them faltering, not delivering. Is it a systemic failure, or is it that they themselves are not really focused?
That is a systemic failure, to be honest. I think it is.
Okay.
I believe it.
Okay, fine. Let me also get Prince's thoughts on this.
All right. This question is, for me, it's interesting because I often say this. Systematically, Nigeria is the system, all right? The system that functions in Nigeria is one that allows for impunities, all right? The system that functions here allows for impunity. And it's not only about Nigeria, it's a third world issue, Most African nations have similar or near experiences, So corruption and the like. So for most young persons, they don't function well in an environment of such. So they tend to migrate, which is called brain drain, which not only affects Nigeria, it affects other third world natives. So they tend to migrate into more developed climes that accept neutrality and excellence and excel there. The few that remains here, they're able to still find their way despite all odds. Well, they find their way and it works for them like that. But notwithstanding, there are some Nigerians, young Nigerians, that still find a way in other sectors. It could be entertainment, it could be law, medicine, it could be art, it could be sciences, it could be education, even in still Nigeria. When it comes to politics, little or no is being done because it's a systematic problem, which I think is not about the pace, it's about the system. So that means there is a need for us in Nigeria to build a system, institutions that checkmates the excesses of politics and governance in this country. To allow for more young persons to really express their ingenuity as they want to do that. Except this, I don't know how possible it would be for young Nigerians to really come into the system of politics and excel well, because it's a system. And because it's a system, there's a need to build a counter system, which is structures, systems, institutions of government that checkmates and puts to order all the excesses, and issues and problems and challenges that are found and find in politics.
Well, the question will now be, who will build those systems? Is it the government? Is it the people? Is there going to be some sort of a collaboration? But then, that's going to be a pending issue. Mba, quickly before we go on a break. Now, we've talked about so many limitations. You've actually highlighted systemic failures too. For a young Nigerian, what does it take to challenge the norm? What does it take to lead? What does it take to effect a change?
I think, first of all, it's to clarify your purpose. And also you ask yourself, are you resilient? We will also have to build a community, because community is powerful. Community is what makes us. So without community, I don't think we are going to go anywhere. I don't think we are going to be able to challenge and also lead a change. Another thing is having a knowledge of how the system works.
Yeah, go ahead.
So another thing is having a knowledge of how the system works and how the society works. And that's it for me. Having a purpose, building a community, having knowledge of the system and the society, and being resilient. That is it.
Okay, all right, no problem. So this is what we're going to do. We'll go on a very short break. When we return, we're still going to look at the issue around leadership, creativity, and all whatnot from the perspective of how Nigerian youths should view it and what can be done actually to break the jinx and liberate, of course, for them to actually liberate themselves if we are all hoping to build a better Nigeria. We go on a very short break, and when we return, we'll delve more on this particular discussion. You're watching Fafana Africa. Do stay with us. We'll be back in a bit. On Fafana Africa, we've been talking about building purpose-driven youth leadership, creativity, and of course, nation building in a new Nigeria. We've talked about several barriers actually inhibiting Nigerian youth from actually breaking the jinx, scaling the hurdle, and trying as much as possible to contribute to national growth. But then we're going to scale it further and look at it from other sides. We're still going to do more on politics anyway. But then I'd like to let you know that Mba Emem, a graduate, still stays with us on this particular discussion. And Prince Ezeabata-Chibuzor, who is the Executive Director of PurposeForte, also stays with us to discuss this. Now, we're going to pick up from where Mba left it off, but then I would scale it down to Prince. She talked about a youth that is resilient. She talked about teamwork. Now, you would recall what played out, the narratives that actually played out before the 2023 elections. We all know what transpired during the course of the election. Post-election, the axiom was go to court for those who actually felt disgruntled by the outcome of the election. And that eventually led to some sort of leadership and voter apathy among Nigerian youths. Now, would you blame the government for these? I'm talking about this apathy and the fact that we are not seeing Nigerian youths who are willing to actually come out, stake their claims and say, we are going to fight for a better Nigeria, no matter whose ox is gored. And even if I have to sacrifice my life for this? Or would you hang it on the youths and say, see, it's as though these youths are complacent, or they are delusional, or they are not brave enough? Prince Ezeabata.
Okay. I don't think the youths are delusional. I don't think they are delusional, nor do I think they are complacent. I think the youths, if they exercise all they have to exercise, they've casted their votes, they've gone to courts, what next can they do? They've gone to courts, as they said. They went to courts. The court have gave its ruling. What next? Then they went to the next elections and cast their votes again and try to see if there will be change. That's all they need to do.
Well, it's not clear. It's not clear. What kind of change? How would they drive that change?
All right. So how do they drive the change? There's this personal controversies about being an activist. Yes, you could be an activist. There are ways to drive change. One, you could be an activist. Is it worthy? Is it a worthy cause? It's a worthy cause to be an activist. But is it worthwhile to be an activist? I don't think so. So instead of throwing the part of activism as a young person, perhaps you could throw the part of engagement, the part of actively building systems and structures, the part of actively contributing. So activism is a worthy cause, but it's a noble cause. But is it a noble worthy cause? I don't think so. So what do you do as a young Nigerian, as a youth? Instead of activism and shouting, you could also try to engage your community. You could volunteer for the parties. You could invest in your candidates. You could go out there, find a system, a structure, and invest in and have an egg for yourself in that particular system. In that way, you're also contributing to society, the entire structure of society as well. Then when the time comes, who knows, perhaps, when the time comes, you'll be singled out for your legacy and what you've done to come contest and win elections. Most persons that currently are into governance were once young persons that categorize themselves as change agents in their little communities, and today they find themselves somewhere. So yes, you could try the part of activism, which for me is a noble cause, but not worthy enough, not worthwhile. Or for me, you could try the part of engaging yourself, particularly instead of just activism and just shouting around. You come engage yourself, come involve yourself in the system, and make sure that you're involving yourself objectively. I think for me that's a worthy way to drive change in your little way.
Okay, so Mba, I mean, we can talk about activism, we can talk about social engagement, we can talk about community mobilization, but then what about in a system created to keep people perpetually subjugated? We've seen cases where those who've actually spoken truth to power have been, let's just use the word, arrested or picked up by certain elements within the confines of power. and they're being tried. Some have been cowed to renounce whatever it is that they stand for, their belief. Now, how can Nigerian youths cultivate some sort of resilience and safely chart socio-political change in a hostile environment?
I don't think there is anything we can do differently. Because, look at a very bad man. He's an activist. He was arrested a few weeks ago for what? For just saying the truth, for just speaking for people that can't speak up. So it wasn't violent. It was not. It was just using social media to talk about these things that people can't talk about. And there is no change. Instead, they arrested him for no reason. They didn't even give his family a valid reason why they arrested him. So I don't think, I don't know. I don't believe in Nigeria no more. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
That's quite strong. Prince, I'm going to have to come back to you. We need to be very open in our conversations. And we need to, because I know that a lot of you are actually watching, they need a sense of purpose. There is a challenge, there is a barrier, whether it's coming from government, whether it's coming from the society. How can Nigerian youth stay resilient? How can they effect a change in a society that is actually not supporting their cause?
First of all, you must accept that you are born, you are witnessing your life in a society as this. So accept this reality, that you are born in a third world nation. One of the characteristics of a third world nation is that there is no respect for rule of law. Understand this, accept this, and then that's fine. Secondly, you must ensure to follow due process in everything you're doing. You can't afford to take a mistake. You can't afford to take a misstep. You can't afford that, because there are entities watching you for any mistake. And of course, any single mistake, you're all for good. You're off for good. So one, understand and accept the reality. You are born in a third world nation. And of course, one of the peculiar things about third world nation is that there is no respect and regard for rule of law. Secondly, you must ensure that all your steps, all the process, all your procedure must be in accordance with the rule of law. And finally, peradventure, in a bid to exercise your franchise, your civil responsibility and civil rights, some power cramps down on you. That's where we have the legal practitioners, we have human rights attorneys around the country that can fight for your cause. And so far, so good. I would give good credence to the legal practitioners, the NBA. The NBA have obviously been standing up for human rights accusations, human rights violations across Nigeria. So if a young person that's find activism as a noble way to start, that is the perfect thing. But however, you must ensure that all your dealings must be in accordance with the rule of law. You must not allow emotions to take charge over you. You must have a breathing of emotions. You can't allow yourself to take charge by emotions or by unnecessary agitations, going forward to go and vandalize government properties and the like. So you must attend to all your happenstance in a civil manner, backed by law, backed by order, and peradventure some powers that therein can come upon you to cramp you down. Then we seek the legal approach. And like I said, so far so good. Thus far in Nigeria, I think so far there have been any sort of violations. Lawyers across the nations have always fight for human rights. For instance, the very dark man, for instance, which my co-guest mentioned, some lawyers came up, fought for him, and now he's free. So yeah, the first thing first, always abide by the rules. So there won't be any way to attack you and say, hey, you did this or you did that. That for me is a way to navigate this hurdle as a young person. Understanding where you came from, understanding where you live, society you live, and understand how to then navigate all these challenges. That for me is how to cultivate yourself as a purpose-driven society, a society that also clams on your rights as a young person.
Okay, all right. So let's also look at another way of reprieve for the Nigerian youth. And I want to go by the way of religion. Mba, now, Nigeria and by a large extension, Africa is regarded as a highly religious entity. And from what you've observed, do you think that spirituality and religion actually shape a purpose-driven life for young Nigerians, or should I say Africans?
No. I mean, I won't totally agree because leaving it to God is what brought up to this age. Is where we leave it to God is why we are here. Like you're not, we are used to giving God everything, saying, "Oh, God should take control. Oh, God should do this. Oh, God should do that," instead of actually fighting for a change. God is not going to come down and help us fight corruption. God is not going to come down and help us fight poverty. It's not going to happen. We have to start from within. It has nothing to do with God. I feel like religion or spirituality is personal. That's what I know. I feel it. For me, that's my opinion. It is personal. It has nothing to do with the country or with the leaders or with the way things are right now.
Okay. Now, Prince Ezeabata, now we have Nigerians who are trying to find God. They're trying to find themselves. They're trying to find their feet. They're trying to find greener pastures. And as of 2025, over 1.4 million Nigerians have emigrated, with a significant portion being young adults aged between 18 and 35. Now, in this cause of self-determination, would you blame the youths who are actually leaving the country for a better life, seeking personal ambitions outside of the country? Or you will look at it from the angle of, I mean, they should have stayed, or Nigerian youths should stay and fight for a better country. Would you blame them for having to do that?
Okay. When I think objectively. I divorce popular hypnosis with personal self-aware decisions. So if for an individual, based on your self-awareness, based on your decisions in life, based on what you want of life, you find out that the current geographical, physical environment you find yourself will not give you the optimal reward for your skill and potential. The best thing to do is to go plant yourself in a different geographical location that will reward you optimally. So it's an individual thing. If you as a young person, you think holistically, honestly, it is not God, it is not human being, I just myself, based on self-awareness, based on what I want through life, based on what I want in life, at the end of my life, I want this, I want that. And I believe that Nigeria is a place for me to harness my potential. I think from what I want in life, Nigeria will give me that. Then stay Nigeria. But if you don't think so, if the country, the hallmark of life is not about popular hypnosis, it's about you as an individual. Are you able to transcend your limitations? So if the country you find yourself anywhere, I don't mean just Nigeria, anywhere at all, is a place that you see that it will reward you, to reward you, then transport yourself out from where you are to that place. And of course, I'll mention one thing. Every location has, every craft, every skill has its capital of the world. So when it comes to fashion, you go to Italy. When it comes to meal and cuisine, you go to Italy. When it comes to business and stock exchange, you go to New York. In Nigeria, when it comes to entertainment in Nigeria, you go to Lagos. So if you feel that you want to be a fashion designer, a global fashion designer, and you have no business staying in I don't know, in Benue State. I don't think you have a business in Benue State, except you want to just be a local fashion designer. But based on your personal calling, your personal desire for true life, your personal wants true life, you want to be one of the high-rated musicians, that's fine. You could come to Lagos. If Lagos suits you, that's fine. For the other person, he don't want to be a musician. He don't want to be an artist. He wants to be a painter. That's fine. Go to Texas. Go to Texas. Like, go be a painter there. Go to South Africa. Go be a painter there. Go to Spain. Go be a painter there. Because those cities will reward you optimally in rewards, in equation to your output and what you give out. So yes, it's a personal decision. It's not about a popular hypnosis. a popular mindset, a popular mass belief system or religious system. For me personally, I think it's a personal decision based on what you want through life. Like I say, based on what your purpose wants, based on your identity, based on your drive, based on what you want through life, it determines where you need to be planted.
Okay.
In the Bible, Abraham, based on his personal rewards, personal life, drive, had to leave his father's house to a new place
But
so,
you got an instruction, so to speak, according to the Holy Bible, from God.
Yes, you yourself as a person, I can get instruction today. You know, like you too. You know, you need to leave the country, you need to go to Japan, and take.
I still have a problem with that anyway. But I'll come to him. But I mean, we are trying to build a holistically egalitarian society and develop a country, make it better. If we continue to support the trend that Nigerian youth should japa and plant themselves in areas where they feel like they can actually get more rewards for their labor, I think that's just personal. That's what comes to you personally. It's not something that is nationalistic. Some people say it's not even being patriotic. Now, how are we going to build a country where, when potential leaders actually leave their country and try to make impact in other countries? Mba, help me out.
We don't have to be present to fight for the country. We don't have to be present. That's why we have social media.
Social media to do what? I don't get.
To speak out.
After speaking out, then what happens?
Okay, what difference does it make if you are in the country? What difference does it make?
Well, those who have actually championed their cause and have fought for emancipation in their countries are those who actually stayed in the country. I mean, we can mention a whole lot of maybe martyrs, or people who've actually made differences in time past. They actually didn't go to other countries to take up leadership positions and fight for the freedom of their people. They actually stayed in the country, suffered in some instances, and did what they had to do until their names were etched on the sands of time.
For me, I think it's a calling. I think it's a calling. Yeah. So there's no one.
Okay, so I think we just lost communication with Prince right there. Hopefully we can still have him back to draw a conclusion on this. But then we still continue with the conversation. We have a few minutes under our belt anyway. Mba, now, opportunities for success, if you look at it, are no more granted based on merit anymore. It's all about prebendalism. It's all about godfatherism. Can the Nigerian youth overcome such cultures in leadership spaces?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Okay, so I said when you look at Nigeria, in terms of opportunities and success, what we've seen is that those are no more granted on the basis of merits anymore. It's about nepotism, godfatherism, who you are actually close to, who you know. But then, can Nigerian youth overcome such cultures in leadership spaces?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. Because we already used to, connection. Do you understand? It's going to be very hard. I don't know how we are going to change that, but maybe probably grooming our children while they are growing up for fairness. Do you get? But I don't think that is going to be easy to beat.
Well, I hope we'll be able to find a way around it, find a purpose, find that challenge and that grit to actually, deal with these issues that we're faced with personally and, of course, as a country, because Nigeria, Africa need its youths to actually effect a change. We are hoping to actually, meet up with our peers in other countries and have a better society. Mba Emem, thank you. Well, we're just going to draw conclusions on that, but then thank you so much, Mba Emem, for sharing your thoughts with us on the show. And of course, Prince Ezeabata-Chibuzor, Executive Director of PurposeForte, thank you so much for also speaking with us on the show. Now, you don't have to be somebody different to be important. You are important in your own right, so you can make a difference. And that's actually coming from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who is a renowned novelist. And it's a clarion call to Nigerian youth to actually embrace their purpose, embrace your value, and use your creativity to birth a better and a brighter Nigeria, because that is actually possible. Thank you so much for being part of Afano Africa. I am Leko Onobanjo. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your day.